If you're thinking about getting a second citizenship, a second passport, but you're not really sure about it, maybe you have a US passport, you're not going to renounce, so why get another passport? And also Trump just won, so what's really the use in it? Or maybe you're Canadian and you're thinking, well, Canada's never really going to tax me on my worldwide income, so why would I get another passport? Or you're from the UK or any other top tier country and you're thinking, I don't really need another passport. Here are the reasons why a lot of my very wealthy clients have gotten second passports and why I personally have 4 new citizenships. I was born a US citizen and I acquired 4 new citizenships through processes that I teach you here on the channel, whether it's citizenship by investment, citizenship by exception, citizenship by descent as well. I made a video on citizenship by descent. I'll tell you where that video is so you can watch it later. Essentially, all these processes have been worth it for me specifically and for my clients. And the reasons are, first of all, you have some asset protection and asset diversification. Maybe you're staying in your home country, you're staying in Canada or UK, but you want to have a plan B. Something where if your country keeps going in the wrong direction, or if you get sued in any way, or a lot of our clients have been involved in tax issues where the government says that they should pay a tax and they say, no, we already paid that tax, or we're not essentially required to pay that tax, and they go to court and they fight it. In a lot of those cases, they take your passport. You're kind of a slave to the state for a small period of time. And you have no backup plan. You have no plan B. If you lose, you need to pay up millions of dollars. So you always want to have a plan B. I'm not saying do anything illegal. I'm not saying evade taxes illegally, anything like that. But you want to have some asset protection and another country where you could potentially put assets in. Another nationality where you could potentially open a business with. And I'm not saying to hide money under that new nationality because you always have to report those assets back home. If you need to report them, you have to do that. For example, a US citizen, if he gets a Dominican or St. Kitts or Serbian passport, he needs to report back to the United States no matter what because he's still a US citizen. But at least you have that extra coverage. You have an extra country where you can get bank accounts and you're actually a citizen of that country. You have another passport that you can travel under. I remember traveling with the US passport. I didn't really relate to other Americans that thought that the US was the best country in the world where there's so many other options. I didn't want to travel on that passport. And the negative consequences that maybe with some border guard or some country that wasn't friendly to the United States, I might have issues. I'd rather just travel on my St. Kitts or my Serbian or my other passports to make sure that I don't have issues. So you get asset protection and you also get personal protection. And if you're worth millions of dollars, then it's worth to pay $250,000, $500,000 in some cases, start a business in a country to get that citizenship in order to have that protection the same way that you get life insurance or home insurance. Another reason for some of my clients is tax optimization. So for example, they might be a UK citizen and now they don't have any access to the European Union, but they want to live somewhere in Europe and they're worth millions and millions of dollars. And maybe they were under the non-dom regime, which now doesn't exist in the UK starting next year. Now they want to go somewhere else to pay less taxes. What they can do if they have some descent from Poland, from Italy, from Austria, from any of these countries, they can get a second citizenship by descent, or they can get citizenship by investment in Malta, or they can get a golden visa in Portugal or in Greece or any of these countries. And now they have access to the Schengen area and the European Union, and they could potentially apply for a lump sum tax. For example, I know a lot of UK citizens and my lawyers in Greece have specifically told me, yeah, UK is one of our biggest market. The UK citizens go to Greece to get a golden visa, they buy property, and they might not live in that property full time, but then they apply for the Greek lump sum tax. And they're making millions of dollars per year, but they're only paying Greece 100,000 euros per year. And that's their whole tax burden. If you're making $1 million, that's 10%. If you're making 10 million, that's 1%. If you're making 50 million, that is a negligible amount of taxes to pay to Greece while having that Greek golden visa, and then you can pretty much travel wherever you want because you're a tax resident of Greece and you're paying that lump sum tax. So it could also potentially open you up to tax optimization possibilities. And obviously, if you get a second passport in the European Union through descent, then that blows out the golden visa and you can just go live in Greece and apply for the lump sum tax. And then that's your whole problem solved. And you still keep the UK one. You're not going to renounce your UK citizenship. So you have both options. On top of that, you get political and economic insurance. As I said, you get life insurance. Well, you also get political and potentially war insurance as well. I have many people from the eastern side of Europe, right next to Ukraine, who have messaged us and says, hey, I want to get a second passport just in case the war expands. We've even had people in Georgia, in some countries that are nearby, Russia, for example, that are having some issues with Russia. I want to get a second passport just in case. Just in case the war continues to expand, just in case something major happens, just in case NATO gets fully involved into this conflict. I want to have a second passport just to be safe. And we send them to Caribbean citizenship by investment. We send them to other countries. We also look at other countries where their family might have been from, so they can also get a second citizenship. In that case, or some residency program in Latin America that they could apply for, maybe get residency in Argentina or in Panama, buy a property in Latin America, so they always have that access. We have a Danish client, huge client that has huge business in Denmark, and he's going to get Panamanian permanent residency by buying a property in Panama, and he has that option, always. If NATO gets fully involved, he can always move his family over to Panama. And you might think, why are you moving from Denmark to Panama? That makes absolutely no sense. But for a lot of wealthy people, it makes a lot of sense. That's why these billionaires, they're always trying to get some other residency. They're always buying property in these countries that you might think, why is he buying property there? They're buying it as an insurance. They're buying it as a long-term plan, as a plan B. I have a huge, very wealthy client from Indonesia. He bought a property in Mauritius, and now he has that other plan. For him, it's plan F. He has multiple other passports. He has a huge business. Now he has that property in Mauritius as a political insurance just in case things get heated in Asia as well with China. So you never know what's going to happen in the future. And obviously the story of Ukraine, where Ukrainian citizens a couple of years ago, they were thinking, oh, maybe the war expands, maybe Russia's going to invade, maybe something's going to happen. And they should have gotten a second passport just to be safe. A lot of people did that. A lot of people got Romanian by descent. They got Polish by descent. They got some citizenship by investment. And now they are safe. If you are a millionaire, you have $1 million in assets or more in net worth, or you're making $1 million a year in business and investments or more, I created another channel called Wealthy Expat Millionaire, where I'll be focusing on topics specifically for you. They might be a little bit more boring, they're less flashy, but they're extremely valuable. For example, I made a video on all my personal asset protection structures, all my passports, all my companies, all my real estate purchases, basically everything that I do to protect my millions personally. If you want to check it out, it's in the description, but please only go to that channel if you are a millionaire. I want to optimize for you specifically. A second citizenship might also open you up to new business opportunities. We have a group, for example, of Chinese investors. We help them get citizenship in Eastern Europe. Chinese often go to Europe for golden visas. They get Maltese citizenship by investment. They get St. Kitts citizenship by investment. Chinese are one of the biggest group of clients for all of these programs. So we help them get citizenship in Eastern Europe and non-EU Eastern Europe through living there, through investing there, through basically having a business there. And that business that allowed them to get citizenship also opened them up to the European market. And they wanted to have somewhere that was also low tax. So they didn't want to go to UK. They didn't want to go to France or any of these places to pay 50% tax. They wanted to go somewhere where they could pay 15% tax, potentially get a second citizenship, and also open up to the European market. So second citizenship can also open you up to bigger business deals. If you're a US citizen, you could also get a second citizenship and then open up more investment deals, even though you still have to pay taxes to the IRS. Some investments, for example, some ICOs, some coins, some crypto projects, they won't allow you to invest if you're a US citizen, period. If you're a US citizen, we don't want you. Or if you have a US passport, we don't want you. And in some cases, if you were born in the United States, but you have a St. Kitts passport, you have a Serbian, you have any other passport, you have some by descent, some Italian, you can invest through that passport. You still have to pay taxes to the IRS, but you can still get access to that. And that might be $10 million of profits that you make. And I've heard stories of clients that have done this. They got access to their second passport. They made millions of dollars. They paid taxes back to the IRS on that, but they would have never made 7 or 8 million bucks if they were just Americans. So you never know when a second passport is going to open up millions of dollars for you. Getting a second passport obviously provides also your family some security in the future and also provides options in the future. For example, one client that I met here, his child now is born with 3 passports, starting life off with 3 passports from 3 different continents. And now this client is trying to get one more continent added on here so his child can have 4 different continents to pick. When they grow up, they basically have the whole world and they're fully protected. And if anything happens, they can renounce one of these passports. They have access to pretty much the whole world. So also you want to think long-term for your family. I know sometimes some clients say, oh, I want this for me specifically because I want to make money right now. But other clients are thinking in generations, in 10 years, in 20 years, what's going to happen with the world? I want to have a plan B for my kids as well, for my grandkids even. The next one is freedom from depending on one country or one government. Let's say you're stuck in a country, let's say a war breaks out, let's say something happens. And we talk about these scenarios because this is what you prepare for if you have many, many millions of dollars. When I have these conversations with people face to face and they're worth 50 million bucks or $100 million, this is what they talk about. They talk about, well, maybe in 5 years, this happens, and then this is the consequence of that. And I want to have a second option in this continent just in case, just to be safe. Or I want to get residency in this place, or I want to buy a property here because I know that if this happens, then that property market is going to explode. When you're wealthy, you think about these big scenarios. And obviously, depending on one government for something that happens around the world isn't really enough. You're only going to depend on one country. For example, when I was stuck in Thailand during the whole situation around the world, I was only a US citizen and I had to deal with the US embassy. I had to ask for some documentation because there were no flights out of Thailand, only to the United States. I didn't want to fly to the United States. I didn't even want to go there. I wanted to go somewhere else, and I had to deal with the US embassy, and they were extremely busy because it's the United States. And obviously they don't have people to deal, or they might have people that they don't want to deal with all their US citizens. It would have been better for me if I was a citizen of another country somewhere in Latin America, or a country like Turkey even, or any other country that would have cared about me in that situation, that would have given me the documents quickly, that would have potentially flown me out, because some countries, they do this. They send flights in danger situations and they fly out their citizens. You never know when the country that you get citizenship by exception in or citizenship by descent in, they fly you out of an emergency situation, and now that's worth millions of dollars for you to get out of that situation. Another reason, obviously I need to be careful with this one, and that is enhanced privacy. You basically can have full privacy by having another passport and doing everything under that passport. But when I say this, people think, oh, you're just going to hide your money. You're just not going to report your money because you have that second passport. No, we're still doing everything legally. We're still reporting what we need to, but that provides a certain level of privacy, because your origin country is not going to know that you have money there. Although if you need to report it. If you're still living there, report it. If you're a US citizen, report it and pay taxes on it. But you have that extra layer of privacy, of protection from a personal lawsuit as well, a business lawsuit. If you're running a large business, like a supplement business, a beauty business, you get sued, your assets are protected because they're under a new nationality, or under a new nationality and under a trust. So you have an extra layer of protection there, extra layer of privacy. Overall, just personal protection. You never know who's looking at your assets. You never know what creditor wants your millions. You never know what ex-wife is coming against you. So you always have that passport, that extra bank account, that extra residency, just in case. If you want to get a second citizenship and you want to see all the options around the world where you can legally get a second passport by investment, by exception, by naturalization, basically every single program that exists out there, you can check out the video right here on the 20 plus countries that have some sort of citizenship program available right now. You want to check them out right here.